Good morning. Welcome to another One Mind meditation. Our teacher for this week is Charles Eisenstein, and I hope you enjoy his work as much as I do. What I love about his work is how simple he brings his message across. He doesn't state things in complicated ways. It comes through in the simplest language, and it is always immediately practical. It's not just beautiful words. It's words that immediately hits in a practical way. So if you're ready, let's get into today's message. Somebody, good morning. Anthony, good morning. Hello, beautiful people. Actually, Anthony, good evening. It's great seeing you, man. Today's message starts this way. You are in a process of remembering who you really are. Beatrix, good morning. Great seeing you. Hello. In the hustle and bustle of our daily lives, it's easy to lose sight of who we truly are. We get caught up in the whirlwind of responsibilities, expectations, and societal norms, forgetting the essence of our being. But amidst this chaos, there's a quiet voice within us urging us to remember our true selves and our purpose in this world. Danae, good morning. Charlene, good morning. Hello, beautiful people. When we reconnect with our true essence, discipline ceases to be a struggle. It becomes a natural expression of our soul's purpose. Because when you remember who you are, you also remember what it is you need to do. Then there is no need for forcing or fighting, because you'll be in alignment with the purpose of your soul. Just like a tree needs no one to stand next to it and coerce it into growing some more, we too find ourselves effortlessly drawn towards our path when we remember who we are. A few thoughts from Charles Eisenstein. He says, true discipline is really just self-remembering. No forcing or fighting is necessary. He says, the logic is backwards. Genius is the result of doing what you love. I want you to have that sink in for a moment. Genius is what happens when we're doing what we really love, what we are really good at, what we have a talent for. Genius is the result of doing what we love, not a prerequisite for doing what we love. I think it's beautifully said. And lastly, the last thought by Charles Eisenstein is, trust your intuition and be guided by love. Trust your intuition and be guided by love. We often have a hard time trying to figure out how to trust our intuition and what even intuition is, because if we listen to what's inside, that can be confusing, because there can be lots of different parts, voices, elements of ourselves that we're listening to. Which is intuition? Well, he helped us by saying, being guided by love. Intuition is the voice of love speaking in you. If you are in alignment with your soul, then you'll be the natural expression of your soul, and how to create will be a lot more obvious. This doesn't mean that you have to create a company that makes you a billionaire, or that you have to start a social movement that changes the world. Finding alignment with your soul is not about grand gestures or monumental achievements. It may just mean that you bloom where you are, and just like a flower, the expression of your soul is always in service to the world around you. Michelle, good morning. Hello, great seeing you. When you get into alignment with who you really are, you will naturally create at your highest potential, and you'll find happiness in exactly who you are being. Linda, a very good morning. You're just in time. If you're ready, our Our meditation today is called a sense of self. And this is a process of finding out who we are. Just now I said, when we listen to what's inside, there could be lots of different parts of ourselves that we're listening to. And in this meditation, we give some of those parts an opportunity to be heard. We give ourselves an opportunity to listen to some of these parts. What we become better at when we do this is recognizing what speaks within us. Recognizing when it's pure love, source, soul speaking, and when it is our scared parts doing the talking. We get better at understanding the difference. If you're ready, you can close your eyes and let's float away, starting with the first few big breaths. Take a deep breath in and out. A deep breath in and out. A deep inhale and let it go. Deep breath in and out. One more big breath in and let it all flow away. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose gets drawn all the way deep down into your belly. And as you fill up your belly with air, also raise yourself up. As you breathe in, stretch out your spine, lift the top of your head toward the ceiling. And once you've reached your full height, let all of it go. With every exhale, soften. With every breath out, soften your spine, slump down your shoulders, and drop your head. While you continue your full body breathing, feeling your body rise with every inhale, feeling your body fall with every exhale. We're going to invite some of our inner children to join us for this conversation. The examples that I'll use today are guilt, shame, fear. A part of ourselves, we could call it an inner child, but it does not have to always manifest as a child. It could be a part of us that is an adult. We'll call them our inner children just to make it easy. part of us that sometimes feels guilty. Invite that inner child closer. A part of us that sometimes feels ashamed. Invite that inner child closer. A part of us that sometimes feels scared. Invite that inner child closer. While you continue your full body breathing, invite them to breathe along with you. This always looks to me a little bit like the grade 1 teacher inviting the children to come and sit on the carpet with her. It might look different to you. But I am inviting these inner children to sit around me and take these big breaths with me. Perhaps your mind will allow you to see their bodies rise and fall as they breathe along with you. I'm going to ask you perhaps a few times to see if you can find an image of what these parts of you might look like. I want to make sure that you understand it's not important that you get a clear picture of what shame or guilt or fear might look like. But it's very helpful to opening your mind to the possibility of visualizing what these inner children might look like. So as you're breathing, as your body rises and falls, as you see their bodies rising and falling, what might guilt look like? What might shame perhaps look like? And what might fear look like? We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, helping our bodies stretch, adjust, and settle down in as much comfort as possible for the rest of our journey. And we're inviting these inner children to stretch out their bodies along with us. Take a deep breath in. As you release, drop your head all the way forward and roll out your neck muscles forward and to the left, and forward and to the right. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders forward in big, slow circles. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders backwards in big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release, focus on your spine. Lean your upper body over to the left Lean your upper body over to the right. One more big breath in. And as you release, you can stretch or move or adjust any part of your body that still needs a bit of help settling down. Having softened our bodies into a state of presence, or at least becoming as present as we possibly can be right now, we can now turn our attention inwards and dive deep inside for the next part of our journey. With every next inhale, we'll hold our breath for a few short moments, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. If you're not able to sit for the whole meditation with us, then this is always a good place to stop. But if you are here for the whole journey, we'll take the next few big breaths together. Take a deep breath in. And hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel into your body. Feel how softness slips into your body. How softness settles in every part of your body. One more big breath in and hold. As you release, feel the downwards flow through your body. Feel your shoulders slowly falling. Feel your body slowly softening. And feel how you are slowly slipping deeper into you. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose is an invitation. It invites you to turn inwards and follow this journey. As you breathe in, feel the air flow in through your nostrils. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Stay with your breath as it flows in through your lungs. And as you fill up the balloon inside your belly, feel yourself slip all the way in. Hold your breath. But hold it only for as long as it feels easy, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. With your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, I want to remind you of these 3 inner children that we are inviting today. You may use your own examples. The examples I use today are guilt, shame, and fear. But if you feel like you're dealing with something different right now, then feel free to use your own examples. So as you take your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, have a conversation with these inner children. Let them know that we are here to listen. We are here to learn how to understand. Take your next big breath. Our first conversation is with the part of ourselves that sometimes feels guilty. So first, we'll have a conversation with guilt. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, I want you to remind yourself of how guilt speaks when it becomes triggered. In those moments where you're overcome with a feeling of guilt, what are the thoughts that come into your mind? How does your body react to these thoughts? How do you feel when guilt becomes triggered? Specifically, pay attention to the repetitive nature of these thoughts. It's very likely that every time you feel guilty, it's the same words, the same thoughts, the same sentences on repeat again. Take a moment and listen to that recording. Let guilt speak. Take your next big breath. And then I want you to have a further conversation with guilt. Turn towards this part of you. And as you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, ask guilt this question. Say to this inner child, guilt, in those moments when you feel so overcome with guilt? What is it that you are afraid will happen? What is it that you're afraid will happen? And now take your next big breath and just listen. Take a moment to thank guilt for being present, for stepping up, for being seen, for being heard. We'll turn our attention now to the next inner child. We'll turn our attention to shame. The part of you that has, or sometimes in the past, has had moments of feeling overcome with shame. We're going to ask shame to speak. And while we do, again, just open yourself to possibly visualizing what this part of you might look like. What would shame look like? As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, we are inviting shame to speak. Remind yourself of the thoughts that come up when you feel shame. Specifically, pay attention to the repetitive nature of these thoughts. They're likely to be the same thoughts, the same words, the same sentences, again and again, every time that shame surfaces. For the moment, allow that to speak and just listen. Take your next big breath. And then turn towards shame and have this conversation with shame. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, speak to this inner child. Say, shame, in those moments where you really feel overcome with this emotion, what is it that you wanted to be different? Or how is it that you wanted it to be different? I'll repeat that again. Ask shame this question. How is it that you wanted things to be different? And take your next big breath and listen. Take a moment to thank shame for being seen, for being heard. We know that it takes courage. And lastly, we'll turn our attention to fear. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, we are inviting fear to speak. The part of you that sometimes feels scared. Remind yourself of the thoughts that go through your mind when you feel scared. And pay particular attention to the repetitive nature of the words, the thoughts, the sentences that go through your head in moments where you feel scared. For the moment, just allow that fear to speak, to be heard. Take your next big breath. And then let's speak to fear. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, turn towards this inner child and say, fear, in those moments where you feel so scared, what is it that you really want for me? What is your deep desire for me? Take your next big breath and listen. Take a moment to thank fear for showing up, for being seen, for being heard. That is a brave thing to do. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, slipping out of the breath-holding space and into the next. Invite these inner children to take these breaths with you, and invite them to place themselves wherever they want to be. Sitting next to you, sitting on your lap, on top of you, or even crawling inside of you, whatever comes to mind. They're invited to place themselves where it is they want to be. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel how softness slips in and settles in every cell of your body. One more big breath in and hold. As you release, feel yourself slip all the way through. There is no more attention on your breathing. You can sit all the way back, or even lie all the way back down and feel yourself just floating. The reminder here is that these inner children, shame, guilt, fear, that none of these are who you really are. These are what we've picked up on our journey, in our interaction with the world around us since we were kids. Recordings are made, and guilt and shame and fear, they are just some of these recordings, which is why it's always clear to see that those words of guilt, of shame, are always on repeat. They get repeated in very much the same way again and again every time those emotions are triggered. They are recordings. They're not who you are. Who you are, what Charles Eisenstein spoke about this morning when we remember who we are. You are the part of you that was just able to listen to these inner children. The part of you who could listen to guilt and have a conversation with guilt. The part of you who could give shame the opportunity to speak and hold that space of love. But when we place these inner children behind the wheel, when we let them do the driving, then it kind of goes the way we would expect a little child to drive. It makes the journey very hard if the inner children have the wheel. The better you get at listening to these inner children, the better you are at reminding them that you've got the wheel. They don't need to fight for control of the wheel. You've got them, you understand the message that they bring you. They just wanted things to be different. They want something good for you. But they can sit in the back seat while you do the driving. Now you're remembering who you are. You're giving space for your wisdom to be in the driver's seat. I'll read to you one more time the way that Charles Eisenstein spoke about it this morning. He said, true discipline is really just self-remembering. No forcing or fighting is necessary. He says the logic is backwards. Genius is the result of doing what you love, not a prerequisite for it. If you are being who you truly are, if you have stepped into your soul, into the wise part of you, genius will be your default mode. And he says, trust your intuition and be guided by love. When you get into alignment with who you really are, the part of you that can hold this space for guilt and shame and fear to be heard. When you get into alignment with your soul, you will naturally create at your highest potential. And you will find happiness in exactly who you are being. We have the last 5 breaths of gratitude to do together. With every exhale, I'll say my thank you, and I invite you to say yours. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning how to not be afraid of these big emotions. Not be afraid to feel them come on. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning that the real me, my true self, has arms big enough to hold space for any of these big emotions while they are being felt. Any and all of these inner children can be held while they speak. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning how to trust that when I can listen to shame, guilt, fear, learning how to trust that I'm stepping into the strongest part of me. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for remembering that even the biggest storm always passes. Even the biggest emotions don't linger forever. And the more ease I have for letting it be seen, letting it be heard, letting it be held, the faster it passes. One more big breath in. Thank you for remembering who I truly am. And from that space, having space for all these inner children to have their moment when they need it. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Sunmarie. Thank you, Beatrix. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Danae. Wishing you all a really beautiful day. The more you are aligned with who you really are, the more obvious it becomes what you need to do. Because when we remember who we are, we remember what we're here to do. Have a beautiful day, everyone. See you again soon. Ciao, ciao.